Hi guys, this is Kevin Kleinman, head trader at Watchhimtrade.com. I wanted to review a chart that I looked at a couple weeks ago that has been very volatile. It is GoPro, GPRO, a tech name that had a very hot start to its trading career. It IPO'd back in June or July and ran from $30 to $90. And then kind of came down, went sideways. I reviewed it on October 12th, and it's had some price action since then that has changed things a little bit. So I want to follow it up here and just kind of update the outlook on GoPro. So first thing I want to do is look at where it was the last time I covered it, and that was up to about October 2nd, I believe. It was this price action right here. So this is what we had seen when I last covered GoPro in detail on my YouTube channel. You could see it was around 50 bucks going into September, and then in the beginning of September you started a really nice move. You went from 50 to 70, then a little consolidation, and then this move right here was just kind of monstrous move to the upside, going from 70s up to nearly 100 bucks on very, very heavy volume, especially on September 29th and 30th, these 2 days when the stock ripped from 80 bucks to 95. And then you had a big shakeout going from 95 down to 80. That was on October 2nd, huge volume, okay? And what I said at the time, after seeing that day on October 2nd, was that GoPro had probably made the easy move to the upside, and that it was likely to either consolidate and go sideways or break down. And the criteria that I was using was kind of the low from this shakeout day, which was at 80 bucks. And then the high from the previous day before, where it had pulled back from, which was right around 96, I believe was the exact high. Yes, 96.45 was the exact high, and your low was 79.13. So, you know, if you just look at that in terms of percentages, GoPro pulled back 17%. And it was this kind of range that I said, okay, now this kind of dictates the trading setup from here. This will be the top end of the channel up near 96. This will be the low end of the channel down near 80. Let's see what happens. You're going to need to either break out and hold or break down and hold below. Otherwise, I would have expected just kind of sideways price action on GoPro. And furthermore, there was one level in particular that I wanted to watch in the immediate term, and that was $85. Why $85? Because that was the close on this big shakeout day. You can see your close on October 2nd, 85.46. So I felt like, all right, 85 was kind of a nice pivot point where if you were above 85, you were likely going to test the top end of this channel. And if you were below 85, you were going to come down and test the bottom end of the channel at 80. So now let's move forward and kind of see what's been playing out. As you can see, the stock did hold at 85 initially and go up towards the top end of the channel at 96, testing it on this day here, heavy volume, but as you can see, it got up there and backed off of it, and you had kind of a wick closed far off the high. That was your first sign that, you know, GoPro is maybe not going to be able to push through to 100 bucks, because you can't find another green candle like this on the chart. Obviously, we know the information now is that it went down, but even after this point, what you could have done is looked at GoPro right here and said, okay, it's never really closed off of a high like that after making a new all-time high. The only other time it's done that was on September 9th when it hit a high of 68 and then closed at 64. However, the next day, what you would have said is, okay, then the next day you actually gapped up. All right, so what you would have wanted to see following this day on October 29th, on October 7th, when you closed off the high was you wanted to see a gap up the next day, because that's what you saw on this day here. You saw a gap up on September 10th following September 9th when you closed off the high. But look at what happened. That's not what happened at all. In fact, you gapped down, right? You gapped down following that day. So here's another sign that GoPro, all right, maybe she's rolling over, or at the very least just doesn't want to go higher. Maybe she doesn't for sure want to go lower, but she doesn't want to go higher at this point. And this is when it started to look like a sideways setup in GoPro. You could see it was holding 85 bucks. If we just draw a trend line to kind of map out the channel on GoPro, we'll put a trend line at the shakeout day's close of 85. You could see that that is what it was holding onto during these pressure days here. It never really broke below 85. However, then on October 13th, you got a good crackdown on GoPro. First of all, you gapped down and you broke below 85, and then you put another trend line at the low that I said was key. The last time I looked at GoPro said that this shakeout day low on October 2nd, 79 would be a very critical low. If you broke that, you were likely to sell off. You did break that, and you did sell off, going from 80 down to 68 in just 3 days for another 15% drop. So that's kind of what's gone on the last few weeks, or the last 2 weeks really. So now let's kind of update things and talk about the outlook now from this point and what to maybe expect by GoPro. First thing I want to point out is that the stock is still in an uptrend. Okay, and you actually came down to this uptrend line that supported the stock in September, the uptrend really that it started, and you bounced off of it pretty perfectly this week. So this uptrend line is the first line to start watching. This week going into Monday, it is right around 70, 71 bucks. By the end of the week, the uptrend line will be at $73. So you want to watch the 70 to 73 range each day this week for key support. Because if you do break down beneath this uptrend line here, then I expect GoPro to be able to come back kind of to where this move started, which was this little stretch right at the beginning, this 3-day win streak. The dates on that was September 4th through September 8th. You went from 52 up to 63. So $63 is kind of the target on GoPro, in my opinion. This candle, 63 to 60, I'll just call it that. That is the target on GoPro if you fail to hold this trend line. If you break down at this trend line, the GoPro target is 63 to 60. Key support above that target is the lows from this week at $68. You touched it on Wednesday and Thursday. So that is the support side of things, okay? This trend line in that 70 to 73 range as this week progresses. Below that, 68 key support. Below that, you're going towards 63 to 60 in my opinion. So now let's talk about the resistance side. It's pretty easy in my opinion on GoPro. You just want to keep things simple. Just like 75 was the important level on October 2nd moving forward, now the important level is 75. Why? Well, it's just a quarter mark level. You get to 75, you get above it, you're closer to 100 than you are to 50. If you're below 75, you're closer to 50 than you are to 100. I'm just calling it a psychological level of importance. There's nothing really in the chart that says 75 is super important. I'm just telling you, I have had good experience in my career just keeping things simple, looking at a psychological level like 75 bucks. So that's what I recommend doing here on GoPro. If you are staying above 75, then I think you can go up towards this gap down range between 83 and 80, just about. October 13th, when you gap down, you opened 82, your high was 83s, your previous day's close was 85. So call it 82 to 85. If you're holding above 75, then the target is 82 to 85. ultimately, to get momentum going back up towards new all-time highs, you need to get above this 82 to 85 range. I think that what you could see on GoPro is maybe a bounce off this trend line towards that resistance 83 to 85, and then a little sideways, and then maybe another move down towards the trend line, and then a bounce back up. That's just kind of speculating. What I would say, though, is I don't expect GoPro to be able to bounce right back up and make new all-time highs. Even if it does hold and bounce here, I think that the easy money on the momentum side has been made with that move in September, and you need at least a few weeks worth of consolidation. Maybe once we get into November, going into December, you could have that, because, and by that I mean new all-time highs towards $100. And the reason for that belief that we need some time here is because now we need another catalyst. And I think time brings the catalyst, because once we get into November, coming up on December, what do we have? We have Christmas, all right? And GoPro, you got to believe, is going to be a stock that benefits from positive sentiment going into Christmas, because it will be a hot seller. At least the market, I'll tell you, will think it is going to be a hot seller this season, and I think gives GoPro the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, we'll find out the truth in its earnings report next year for its Q4 earnings report, but I would expect the market to give GoPro the benefit of the doubt that they are going to have a hot a hot holiday season, and give them some upside because of that. So long story short, trend line support 70 to 73 is key. Got to get back above 75 to really start going back to the upside again towards this 82 to 85, and 82 to 85 is key resistance that if you can't get below, look for a channel move back down towards this trend line, towards these lows, 70 to 75 now. And as far as major direction, again on GoPro, you need to get above this resistance for that direction to be to the upside, and you need to get below this trend line and this $68 mark for direction to be to the downside. The two targets on the upside and downside would be to the upside 95 to 100 if you can get back above 82 to 85, to the downside 63 to 60 if you can get below this trend line and 68 support. More immediate term targets, just base it off of 75. You closed slightly below 75 on Friday, so if you stay below that early this week, this upcoming week, then look for tests on this trend line. As far as upside, if you're above 75, look for a move towards 80. So that's how I see GoPro. I'll try and update this again in another few weeks once we see some more price action, but that's how I see it. Good luck.